my place, and I am welcome.
Today's speaker is Sheila Maillet, and we are so pleased to have her. Look at that shining face. Oh my goodness. She has been committed to her spiritual growth and community her whole life. And while her spiritual journey has been eclectic, that sounds intriguing, it found focus when she came home to Unity 30 years ago. And she has had so many service opportunities during these last years, especially since she became a licensed teacher in 2013. Oh my goodness, over 7 years ago now. She's a speaker that now speaks from sea to sea in Canada and teaching courses on Zoom. And we are so pleased to have Sheila here today. She's going to be talking about the key to peace and freedom, talking about this month's theme of acceptance, and knowing that acceptance is the key to our greatest joy and deepest growth. And the richest ground for discovery is in the field of self-acceptance. Doesn't mean that we settle or use acceptance as a justification for inaction. Haha, true. So we're going to play with Sheila today on Zoom. So welcome. Let's start with music, shall we?
Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Here we go now. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. I'm not holding it in anymore. I'm gonna shout it out loud. I understand now what I'm here for, and what this life is about. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. About lending a hand. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. There's a voice that I've heard for years. I learned to keep it inside. Well, now it's coming in loud and clear. I want a deeper life. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. All right now, swing wide the doors. The time is right. Time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine.
Oh, don't you love that? Let's take a moment to turn within and become aware of that, the truth of who we are. To breathe into our hearts and to know that there is only one power and one presence, active in the universe and in our lives. God the good, omnipotence, everywhere present. So we honor all paths and ways to express God, to celebrate God, to worship God, no matter who they are, where they are, what they are doing, what they believe. There's only one God. And so we honor and bless all those paths to God, knowing that there are many names for God, many faces for God, many ways to become aware of our oneness with God. And as we join together this Sunday, we bless everyone who is here today, everyone who is out there, who is on their way to discovering us, and all other ways of celebrating that presence. We are blessed. And so it is. Amen. Unity is part of Unity Worldwide movement. And most of us most Unity communities hold this same vision. Let's say it together. A world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And actually, Sheila is going to share with us today some ways that this growing movement is shared, how this sharing moves the movement even larger, because it's not just about unity, it's about everyone. But here at Unity of York Region, we have our own particular mission, which is, let's say it together, we are a vibrant, thriving spiritual community serving the world by embodying unity principles of higher consciousness. And embodying them, that is a huge word. That has a lot of layers of depth, because that means that we agree to learn them, we agree to study them, to share them, to be them. That's the embodying part in all our affairs, not just when we're here on Sundays, but out in the world. And they are all principles of higher consciousness. They're not just unity principles, they are universal principles. And we word them in a certain way with unity terminology that brings them close to our hearts. And so they all come together in this one affirmation. Let's say this together. God is, I am, we are together transforming the world. And here we are, just sharing our love and blessing with other unity movements across Canada. This month, it's Unity Center of Winnipeg and Christ Unity Center of Truth in Etobicoke. And so we affirm prosperity, peace and harmony in these unity centers. See them thriving and becoming, knowing exactly who they are. So today, Diane is reading the daily word. So Diane, if you unmute yourself and turn on your video, we can follow you along.
I'm disabled to be on the video.
Oh, all right. So Irene can enable you. And once we can see you, you'll receive a request to start your video.
Oh, okay.
I will ask you to start your video. There you go.
Hey, start my video.
Yes. There you are.
And can you see me?
We will as soon as you talk more.
Okay, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so today is Sunday. Oh, well, first of all, good morning, everyone. Today is Sunday, August the 16th. Yeah, of course. Again, today is Sunday, August the 16th, 2020. And the word for today is protected. And this comes from Psalm 27:1, which says, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" And that's Psalm 27:1. And the word for the day is, I shine my light and feel protected. So on that note, the feelings of fear that creep into my life may conjure childhood memories of scary nighttime images and noises. As a child, I may have felt afraid of the dark or startled by an unfamiliar sound. But the morning sun always dispelled the darkness, and I realized there was never anything to fear. I keep that knowledge alive as I let the divine presence within dissolve the darkness of fear and shine the light of comfort and safety. Now, when any darkness descends upon my life, I remember the protecting love, presence, and power of God expressing as me. As I attune more fully to my divine nature, light dawns within my consciousness, and I realize that God's protection is always mine. And if we could say the affirmation today together, please. I shine my light and feel protected. And if we could just do that one more time, just to get it in there. I shine my light and feel protected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diane. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you at the end of the service.
Okay, adios.
All right, everyone. Now it's time for more music, I think. No, it's announcements. Surprise. So we have the Prayer Chaplain program at Unity of York Region, and also Carolyn from Unity of Barrie is one of our chaplains that you can ask for one-to-one prayer. There's Vesna and Susan and Robin and Carolyn. So we are so pleased to be able to offer this program to you. Just call the 1-800 number there, or or you can call Silent Unity anytime, 24/7. Now it's time for more music with Karen Drucker. God is my source.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Oh, God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything and every little thing that I need. And I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me.
Oh, don't you just love Karen Drucker? There's just nothing better than Karen Drucker. All right. So now it's time for announcements. Our summer series is proceeding, and on Thursdays at 7:30 on Zoom, of course. The link will go out Thursday morning, so be prepared for it. And so this Sunday, August the 20th, this Thursday, August the 20th, it's going to be led by Reverend Irene. What is the value of meditation? Debbie is taking the week off. Whoops. Next week, Wendy Carr will be talking to us about Charles and Myrtle. It's their birthdays. They were both born in August. So this is their birth month, several years apart. Myrtle was, I think she was about 6 years older than Charles, which was quite unusual in those days. So nothing they did was usual, was it? It was so wonderful. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to start teaching a new class. This is September the 16th, so it's not for another month, but I want you to, Maxine actually taught this course last year, but if you would like to review it, we're going to have more, there's going to be more exercises, and it's going to be with people from across Canada. You see all the different times. Now your time will be at 8 p.m. from 8 to 10. I'm saying 2 hours, but it may only be an hour and a half. The people in Moncton, the Atlantic people, start at 9 and will be going to 11, and already I've got 4 people signed up. So and I know there will be people from White Rock there. So it's really a fun time, not even about the content, although that's wonderful, but it's about joining with others across Canada. And you'll see that I suggest the love offering goes to Unity of York Region. So if you are from York Region, and those of you from Barrie that are taking it, you contribute your money to Unity of Barrie, so that each ministry is going to prosper from this class. So we will, and that's on Wednesdays. So it may or may not work for you. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you can join us. And now it's time for more music with Melissa Philippe. And then we will have Sheila will start her talk.
One, joy and peace in my heart. Always I feel joy and peace in my mind. God within revealed joy and peace in my life. I am peace. Spirit dwells within me and guides all I do. It infuses my life, and with the light I am new. I am rich with abundance of all that is good. All is good. Joy and peace in my heart. Always I feel joy and peace in my mind. God within revealed joy and peace in my life. I am healed. From the core, I thank you, God, for teaching me this truth. And knowing it is so, I release it all to you. Joy and peace in my heart. Always I feel joy and peace in my mind. God within revealed joy and peace in my life. I am healed. Joy and peace in my heart. Always I feel joy and peace in my mind. God within revealed joy and peace in my life. I am healed.
All right, Sheila, please, everybody, please help me welcome Sheila.
Well, good morning, everybody. It is such a joy and privilege and pleasure to be here with you this morning. Thank you so much. So the key to peace and freedom, one of them is definitely acceptance and seeing through that spiritual lens. So sawubona, everyone. For anybody who's heard me before, you know that sawubona is a Zulu greeting that means I see you. And it's not just I see you with my eyes, but it's that divine Christed aspect of me, that unity principle number 2, that is looking out across space and time and connecting heart to heart and mind to mind with you at this time to co-create a rich and meaningful experience. So if that resonates with you, I invite you to respond with Yabo Salbona. I see you seeing me. And that just completes the circuit of connection. Unity Worldwide Ministries' vision for 2020 was seeing through a spiritual lens, or is seeing through a spiritual lens. And for August, we're talking about acceptance. And the affirmation is, I release resistance and experience acceptance. Let's affirm that together. I release resistance and experience acceptance. So acceptance is a key to peace and freedom. And what does that mean? When it comes to things like looking at systemic oppression or gypsy moths or even food. And I'm just gonna, we're just gonna explore what that looks like. Why accept what is? Well, the first reason is because it ends the war on reality. As Martha Creek says, you only lose 100% of the time when you fight the battle with reality, because the reality is. Fighting it, you're wasting energy and wasting breath. So the second reason to accept what is. Pain is mandatory. Welcome to planet Earth. Welcome to the 3D virtual experience of reality here. But suffering is optional. And suffering comes about when we resist what is, when we resist the reality. And the third reason to accept what is unity principle number 3. We all know that our hearts and minds radiate out energy and frequency, that law of mind action that reflects back to us. And how we experience it has everything to do with that energy that we're tuned into. So either we're radiating out and feeling reflected back, or receiving the frequency reflected back of love, or some flavor of love, or fear, or some flavor of fear. So flavors of fear can be, anger, resentment, guilt, shame, blame, all those sorts of things. Flavors of love can be everything from patience to compassion to acceptance to whatever. So recognizing that if you're tuned into a frequency on a radio dial or TV or whatever for that matter, you know that you can't tune into the country station and expect to hear the classical music playing on a different frequency. And likewise, you can't tune into the classical station and expect to hear country music. So when you're tuned into love, you're not going to be experiencing fear in the same way. And when you're tuned into fear, you're not going to be experiencing love in the same way. So where does that leave us then? Well, we can live with that, being pulled around by what's happening around us, by the stimulus that's in front of us. So that stimulus equals reaction. So that's something good shows up and we feel good, and something bad shows up and we feel bad. The alternative way of approaching it is where we create some space there. So you get the stimulus of either something positive or something negative, and those labels, recognizing that they're just the labels that our ego puts on it for feeling good and feeling bad. And creating a bit of space between that stimulus to reframe it to come from a different space, or to come from a preferred space, and then coming up with a response. So basically that's, asking that famous question of what would love choose? How would love respond? And this is what it is to live by looking through a spiritual lens. Okay, so let's explore what that looks like in a very practical way, and relating to food. I don't know about you, but for me, there's all kinds of stories about food. everything from slave labor to overpackaging to wheat to sugar to gluten to dairy to GMO to non-local, processed, synthetic, toxified with insecticide, herbicides, fungicides, heavy metals, non-vegan, non-keto, cruel, empty of nutrients, too much, too little, politics around how it's created, grown, distributed, waste as in, do I eat the limp celery while the good celery goes limp, or do I throw the limp celery out and eat the fresh celery? Or waste as in, where all that food ends up on my belly or my butt. Confusion about what's true about any of those other things, about, what is good for me, what is not good for me, what is ethical or not ethical, all those sorts of things. And it can just all get so overwhelming that there's just this echo in the head that says, stop analyzing, stop thinking, shut up and eat. And I came to the space of recognizing that that wasn't where I wanted to come from. And this really came to a head about a month and a half ago when I was standing in the kitchen with a strawberry in my hand and recognizing that this beautiful strawberry, this luscious, delicious, gorgeous red strawberry in my hand was not organic, had probably been sprayed with pesticides, and was probably harvested and planted by slave labor and made available to me on the back and suffering of someone that made it possible for it to come to my table. Looking at that strawberry and with all this criticism, with all this judgment, I just felt the strawberry looking back at me going, you've got your stories and you're not so perfect either. And I realized that from every direction, the stories of not good enough were screaming at me. My inner critic was totally out of control. And with a deep inhalation and exhalation going like, this is not who I want to be. This is not how I want to show up. This is not how I want to live life. What is the alternative here? Staring at that strawberry, looking for that spiritual lens, looking to release the resistance and experience acceptance. I turned to my inner critic and said, thanks so much for sharing. Duly noted, please be quiet. I'm looking for something else here. And the first thing that came to mind was the Ho'oponopono prayer. And I know a lot of people don't like this. And, if it doesn't work for you, set it aside, choose another tool. If it does work for you, if you haven't tried it before, I invite you to give it a try. The first line of it is, I apologize. And that was just looking at that strawberry and saying, I apologize for seeing you in this very critical and judgmental way. Please forgive me. And that's about myself being willing to give up my own stories and look for a different way of seeing things, being open to another option. Thank you. Thank you for coming into the awareness that there's something here to be healed, that there's something here to see in a different way, something here to grow, something here to evolve, something here to change. And I love you. That coming from that depth of connection to awareness of that Christ within this other thing, that unity principle number 2, and unity principle number 1, we're all part of the same great wholeness. I love you, and connecting from that space, which of course immediately brought me to the next, looking through the spiritual lens and releasing resistance and going to that deeper level of acceptance. With the memory of the story of Jesus in the Bible, where he fed the 5,000, and everybody sitting on the bank listening to him teach, and it's time to eat, everybody's hungry, and this boy comes up to Jesus and offers a basket of loaves and fishes to share. Jesus didn't look at those loaves and fishes and say, we're all vegan here. He didn't look at the loaves and fishes and say, no gluten, it's white bread, not there was just no criticism. It was giving thanks for what's here now, blessing it, knowing that it's enough, and sharing it to feed the 5,000, to be that abundance. Sawabona, I see you, is really the essence of that blessing, of that prayer. Sawabona is about seeing it as good enough. For me in that moment, it was looking at that strawberry and saying, I see you. I see the essence and the truth of what the divine love made you, created you, what creation created you as. Seeing the redness, seeing the sweetness, seeing the rich flavor, and acknowledging that, yes, there's all these other stories that have brought each of us to this moment with me holding this strawberry. And each of us, the strawberry and I, had lived our full experience to that moment there, which was a true Sawabona moment of coming together in union. And taking the time to look at that strawberry and say, yes, I acknowledge your story. Yes, I see the truth of you, and I invite you into my body now to come together in consciousness, to make this a sacred, holy now moment. I accept the nourishment that you bring to me. I trust my body to release the aspects of you that I can't use or that don't serve me well. And just feeling the gratitude for the moment of coming together in wholeness, in oneness. And recognizing that it doesn't matter whether I'm holding a strawberry or holding the muscle tissue of a cow or a chicken or a fish or asparagus or a Twinkie or whatever, that same truth is there. And I found that the more I was able to take that time before consuming my food to have that Sawabona moment, the wiser my choices were, the better the food tasted, the better I felt about myself, the better I felt about my choices, and the better I felt about my food overall. And the less judgment I had around the food, myself, or what other people were eating. It all just became good enough and became a celebration. Acceptance, peace, love, alignment, and freedom. All just like that with that Sawabona intent. So how about relating to gypsy moth? I don't know if anybody else has experienced gypsy moth being particularly abundant this year. I certainly have, and have witnessed the chewing of our woodlands and forests and the trees in some of the yards that I work in. This is what gypsy moth looks like. The female is the white moth and the male is the dark colored moth. The female doesn't fly, she just waits for the male and then lays her eggs, and the eggs hatch and the caterpillars chew lots of leaves. And there was this particular day when I was driving around, gorgeous sunny day, and the air is just full of gypsy moths. And I was torn because there was the part of me that carried so much concern, judgment, and so forth about the huge population of gypsy moths. There weren't any other moths to be seen. There weren't any other butterflies to be seen. And the trees were already suffering so much from the caterpillars that had chewed the leaves. And in sitting there looking at one particular moth, I couldn't help but notice how beautiful it was. And again, that Sawabona moment of I see you, and show me how to see you differently, because all I see right now is the destruction of the forests. And that moth looked at me and as I'm looking at the moth, I'm going like, you guys, there's so many of you and you've just destroyed these trees. Like, how do I come into alignment with you? And the moth is looking back at me and going, your species has destroyed far more trees than we have, and your species is responsible for us being here in the first place. We are just a reflection of you. And you're out of harmony with nature. The moment You come back into harmony with nature, we'll come back into harmony with nature. And feeling that compassion in the way the moth, or the way I was perceiving the moth seeing us, changed my perspective on the moth. And I recognized that I have the power to choose the meaning and choose the response. Instead of being angry, I can still scrape off the egg masses into a bucket of water and dispose of them, but I can do it with love and do it with the intent of coming into alignment and the intent of harmony, rather than with the intent of anger and resentment and frustration. Creates an entirely different situation, different way of being. Again, acceptance, peace, love, alignment, freedom. And as I was carrying on that day, I also came to realize that we see what consciousness can see, and we can't see what consciousness can't see. Again, looking through that spiritual lens and releasing resistance to experience acceptance. A few hundred years ago, Darwin came up with that, with his whole theory of evolution and the idea of survival of the fittest and competition being the be-all and end-all of the way things were. And that's just how culture and humanity needed to work too, justifying war, justifying the way corporations worked, all that sort of thing. And that view of competition and survival of the fittest has been, evidenced and so forth by scientific paper after scientific paper after scientific paper. And yet in the last 5 years, or 10 years even, maybe even a little longer, the notion of collaboration and cooperation has come into our consciousness to the point where science is able to see it and find it and document it and make us aware of how collaboration and cooperation are a huge part of nature. If you haven't seen the movie Fantastic Fungi, it's a documentary I highly encourage you to hunt up that talks a little bit about the collaboration and cooperation within nature. That it's not the cutthroat competitiveness that, at least that I was taught as a child in school. We now know that butterflies and moths and other pollinators, we used to think they, how could such pure genius in such a tiny little brain, when it comes to moving from flower to flower to flower and knowing which ones have nectar in them. Well, it turns out scientists are now finding that the flowers actually signal and raise, send out chemical signals to let insects know when there is nectar available. There is this collaboration and cooperation happening there. This new paradigm of collaboration and cooperation, we can grow that, we can move into it, we are coming into it. It's a new way of being. Again, acceptance, peace, love, alignment, and freedom. Gypsy moths can come into alignment. Goutweed can come into alignment. We can see things differently, and it's happening. So relating to systemic oppression, all of our systems, social, education, medical, political, economic, you name them all. So many of them, they're all dysfunctional and in such deep ways that are so hard to change. And with the whole pandemic thing, the dysfunction within them is becoming so loud and clear. And again, how do we look at that through the spiritual lens to release resistance and accept and experience the acceptance? Looking at Bill 197, that was the Ontario government just recently passed within the last week, that they passed with the intent, or the alleged intent, of cleaning up and making clear and making it easier for development to move forward and to modernize it and put it online and all these sorts of things. But buried in that is also the undermining of all of the environmental protections of our environment, of our green spaces, so that they're not, public scrutiny and public consultation is no longer required. The bill even came into existence without any consultation, and without the 30 days notice that is normally required. Looking at Black Lives Matter and the systemic racism that is, being brought into awareness. Accepting and love does not equal loving, justifying, excusing, or dismissing. And I'd like to just, say it aloud with me. Accepting and love does not equal loving, justifying, or excusing. What it does mean is that acknowledging and recognizing the existence of a challenge, the existence of contrast, recognition of or recognizing a preference for change, recognizing that we have the opportunity to extend love to it with the invitation to change. This is putting into practice principle number 3, where we don't take on the painful, angry, frustration, low frequency that created the problem. We come from a space of love, a higher frequency that calls and draws up and draws forth the solutions and the shift and change that we want to experience in the world around us, so that we have healthy environments and healthy social systems and cultures and all of those pieces that we need for well-being for everyone. Everyone being, regardless of color, shape, size, political, cultural, whatever, and also regardless of whether you're human or four-legged, three-legged, two-legged, one-legged, no-legged, mineral, plant, whatever. Well-being for all. So how do we do this? This is asking with compassionate curiosity, with an open heart and an open mind, that looking in the mirror to question ourselves. Where am I supporting oppression inside or out? Whether it's with my stories of my own not good enough around time and how I'm using it, or what I'm eating or not eating, or what I'm exercising or not exercising. Are my policies in alignment with my values? And that's not just our external policies relating to our environment, but it's our internal policies. These are the ones that we can change ourselves. And it's in that shift in consciousness that will shift those outside things, those greater things. Or are my policies reflecting my fears? And certainly there's a lot of fears being reflected in the choices that people are making right now. Having compassion for that rather than judging it. Are my actions in integrity? In integrity with my values, or integrity with my personal policies, or integrity with the life that I want to live and who I want to show up as? Am I looking with Sawabona eyes? Am I looking through eyes from creative source energy that sees wholeness, that sees divinity? Am I looking with eyes that can see collaboration and cooperation, not only within nature, but within systems that are evolving and changing? Where do I have my knee on my own throat, or on the throat of someone else, or a gypsy moth? What does that look like, and what does that mean for me? Where am I pretending that everything is okay when it's not? And this is a really tricky question, because in a movement like Unity, where our thoughts where we train our thoughts to be positive, it can be easy to whitewash and brush over and pretend that things are okay, or pretend that we're not seeing things that are not okay. when we look at those things that are not okay and process them and have that heart-to-heart talk with them, with ourselves, to see them differently, we come to a different understanding. And we come to the space of recognizing ultimately everything else is okay. And there may be action that we need to take here and now to move us in the direction that we prefer to go, into that well-being that we envision. Acceptance is not about excusing or justifying or claiming powerlessness. It's about coming into our own power, claiming our power, and taking action. That unity principle number 5, the raising our frequency, doing our prayer work, unity principles 3 and 4, and coming to that 5th of coming into action from the perspective of those Sawabona eyes. What do I do with that? Sawabona practice, Ho'oponopono practice. And this is, what do I do with these when these things come up that don't look okay? The Beatitudes, Neil Douglas Klotz. Martha Creek was doing a wonderful course on it that very much speaks to this. Byron Katie in The Work. Martha Creek is always doing courses on this sort of thing. How do I see it differently, and how do I show up, and what's mine to do here? Eye of the Storm, the book that Reverend Gary Simmons has done, and I believe you guys did a course on it not that long ago. And of course, our own unity principles, putting them into practice. This is how we can show up, and this is how we can come to that deeper sense of acceptance, that deeper sense of freedom, that deeper sense of joy and peace. And so we'll go from here into our meditation. And we'll allow the song to sink in. And I forget the name of the song or the singer in the moment, but the slide will come up and reveal it to us. And I invite you just to ground and center yourself and prepare your heart and mind for meditation. Turning within, turning to love, bringing up a memory of love.
In the silence,
There we go. In the silence.
there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Love is there, and in the silence, where every color blends and every rainbow ends, good is there. In the light now you find that you know peace of mind. And in the silence, your path is paved in gold, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there. Peace is there. Truth is there. God is there.
We'll take that even deeper home. God is here now within. Breathing into our heart space, relaxing into that centered sense of wholeness. Perhaps bringing up a memory of when you felt truly loved, felt true joy. And just take a moment to revel in that memory, revel in that sensation, revel in that vibration. And as you expand that vibration, deepen it, broaden it, I invite you just allow the memory itself to fade, but keep the feeling, keep the essence. From this space, this wonderful silence is the truth of our being. Call forth your high self. Invite it to reveal to you something that you can see differently. Something that challenges, or maybe you have something you would like to take to your high self that you know is challenging you. And invite your high self to reveal a different way of seeing it. I invite you just to take some time now in the silence to connect with Spirit. Allowing that love, allowing that peace, allowing that sense of acceptance, allowing any new perspectives that came up to radiate out. Any challenges that are still there. Trust that there is transformation available, that process of transformation has already begun. Feel into the gratitude and the appreciation for that transformation and that new perspective. For this time together, for new perspectives, for the opportunity to grow and expand and live into greater sense of well-being. We are truly grateful. Amen.
Thank you so much, Sheila. That was really, you brought up some controversial topics too, and that was kind of interesting to see whether how we will be able to accept them or to resist them. One thing I really want to know is, did you eat that strawberry?
Oh, I did, and I savored it, and I loved it, and yes, and I have so much, and there have been other foods since then where I've recognized, you know what, this won't bless my body, and I need to put it down, and I can put it down with a sense of appreciation and love to let it go and serve somewhere else in some other way. I've found it really, really transforming.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was
And I'm
really
really looking forward to hearing what was controversial. Sorry.
we can talk.
You can,
Everybody stay on
you can
after.
share after.
Yes, yes, thank you. Well, now it's time for our love offering. You know, behind the scenes, as you can tell, Unity York Region is actively working to establish an online presence for Sunday services. And since Irene has been creating the PowerPoint slides and I've been doing the presentation, I still have a lot to learn about how to use Zoom, but we're getting there. And certainly we have other activities coming up to continue to support your spiritual wellness. And so you're invited to be an active partner in keeping this going, in knowing that we are all together in this, and as you give, so shall you receive the divine flow, the substance, the nature and presence that Unity York Region is. It's only when the flow is in both directions that the law works and that we thrive. So let's contribute easily and regularly, even when we aren't meeting in person on Sunday or in class. And here's the ways that you can continue to support your spiritual community. I think probably everybody knows them now, either e-transfer or go to the link entirely on the weekly email. Set up recurring giving so you don't need to worry about, oh my gosh, have I given this month or not? Or mail a check if you're not into digital or virtual giving. Let's say the affirmation together, shall we? Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. God is my source. Thank you, God.
My gift goes forth on the wings of love, and it lands where it can heal and bless. It returns to me, multiplied 1,000-fold, as the universe says yes, yes, as the universe says yes.
And now let's recite the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let's join in the peace song, followed by Robin giving us the go forth blessing. And then we'll unmute ourselves and turn on our videos and have some fellowship.
Let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally.
We are now surrounded and enfolded by the pure, clear light of Spirit. Nothing but good shall come to us, and only good shall go from us. Go forth in peace, radiant love, and joy. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome.
Everyone.